What if I told you that one of the most famous families in America, a family that built an empire on love, laughter, and the beautiful, unvarnished truth of their own lives, was guarding a secret? A silence so deep, it echoed louder than any episode, any headline, any social media post. For over a decade, the world has been asking one heartbreaking, relentless question: is Matt Roloff dead? And the answer they've gotten isn't a yes or a no. It's a ghost story. This isn't a story about an actual death. This is a story about a different kind of vanishing. A story about how a family, under the blinding spotlight of reality TV, began to die by 1,000 cuts. Betrayal, money, land, legacy, and a whispering chorus of millions of viewers holding the scorecard. Buckle up. Because the shocking truth about the Roloff family isn't found in a tabloid obituary. It's in the living, breathing heartache playing out right in front of us. Let's rewind to where it all began. The Roloffs weren't just a family, they were a symbol. Little people, big world. The title was a promise. We fell in love with Matt and Amy, two little people who built a literal wonderland, that breathtaking farm in Hillsboro, Oregon, against all odds. We watched their 4 kids, twins Jeremy and Zach, Molly, and Jacob, grow up. We saw the arguments over pumpkins, the chaos of a busy household, Matt's wild, sometimes dangerous inventions, Amy's eye-rolling and steadfast care. It was real. Or it felt real. It felt attainable. Their struggles with dwarfism, their triumphs, their silly fights, it normalized difference in a way few shows ever had. They weren't saints, they were a family. And we, the audience, moved into their living room, their barn, their lives, every single week. But here's the first twist in our ghost story. The very thing that made them beloved, the unflinching camera, became the scalpel that would eventually begin to dissect them. The show needed narrative, conflict, arcs. And slowly, the line between their real marital problems and the storyline of their marital problems began to blur. We watched Matt and Amy's marriage fray, not in private, but in high definition. The tension over the farm, Matt's workaholism, Amy's desire for a cleaner, more organized life, it stopped being a private struggle and started being public entertainment. The foundation of the family was being televised, and the cracks were getting primetime close-ups. Then, in 2012, the official split. The divorce. It was sad, but it felt survivable. Many families go through it. But this was a family business. And the business was them. The farm was not just a home, it was the central character of the show, Matt's life's work, and the family's financial cornerstone. This is where the ghost of Matt Roloff's death first starts to whisper. Because with the divorce, a part of the family did die. The united front, the mom-and-pop dream of Roloff Farms, was gone. And in its place, a cold, hard business negotiation began. Enter the next phase, the Great Farm War. This is the core of our modern tragedy. Amy got half of the 34-acre property in the divorce. Matt wanted to buy her out. The kids, particularly Zach and Jeremy, had always been led to believe, or so they felt, that the farm would be their legacy. That they would carry it on. But Matt, the visionary, the businessman, saw the farm differently. It was his creation, his asset. He offered it to the kids. But the offers, complicated, wrapped in business speak, tied to production companies and financial realities they couldn't meet, felt like traps. Like insults. Zach, in particular, felt this deeply. His relationship with Matt, always complicated, curdled into something painful and distant. You could see it on screen. The light in Zach's eyes when he talked to his father dimmed. The conversations became transactional. What's the offer? What are the terms? Why won't you just give us a chance? And Matt, perhaps feeling misunderstood, perhaps being a pragmatist to a fault, couldn't just give. He needed a deal. Then, the earthquake. In 2022, Matt sold 16 acres of the farm, including the iconic red farmhouse, to a stranger. Not to Zach. Not to Jeremy. To an outsider. For Zach and his wife Tori, this was the ultimate betrayal. It was the death of the dream. Literally. They packed up and moved to Washington, a physical and emotional chasm opening up between them and the farm, between them and Matt. Jeremy and his wife Audrey, who had already begun to distance themselves, building their own beige brand of life away from the show, watched from a distance. The family was now geographically and emotionally splintered. And where is the epicenter of all this pain? Matt Roloff. A man very much alive in body, but in the eyes of a significant portion of his family and the fanbase, what he represented, the patriarch, the keeper of the dream, the benevolent dad, that figure was dying, or perhaps was already dead. This is the shocking death the rumors hint at. It's the death of the father hero we thought we knew. The narrative turned. Matt became, for many, the villain. The ruthless businessman who chose land over his son's heart. But, is that the whole story? Of course not. This is a family ghost story, remember? And every ghost has more than one side. Let's talk about Matt's death from his perspective. Imagine building something from nothing. A swampy piece of land transformed into a tourist destination, a TV set, a family home, all while navigating a world not built for your body. You sacrifice, you dream, you build. You provide not just a life, but a legacy and a literal platform that makes your family millionaires. And then, you're expected to just hand it over. To kids who, in your view, maybe didn't show the same manic, relentless drive to work it. Who wanted the prize without the grueling, decades-long marathon you ran? From Matt's chair, he might feel betrayed. His life's work being seen as an entitlement, not an earned reward. The pressure of being the family bank, the family employer, the family storyline. The weight of that could kill the joy in any man. So a part of Matt Roloff died too. The carefree dreamer was replaced by a defensive, perhaps lonely, negotiator. And Amy. Amy experienced a rebirth, not a death. Leaving the farm, finding love with Chris Marek, building a new life, she escaped the gravitational pull of the conflict. But even she is haunted by it, constantly asked to mediate, to explain, to pick sides in interviews. The ghost of her old life is a permanent resident in her new one. Then there are the quiet casualties. Molly, who wisely stepped entirely out of the spotlight, living a completely private life. She chose to let the public family die so her real family could live. And Jacob, who has spoken openly about the deep, scarring impacts of growing up on reality TV, about manipulation by producers, and his own painful estrangement and subsequent reconciliation with his parents. His journey represents the death of childhood innocence in the most brutal, public way possible. So why does the Matt Roloff dead rumor persist with such shocking tenacity? It's a metaphor our brains created to process what we're seeing. We're watching a family disintegrate in slow motion. The synapses that connect them, trust, shared history, unconditional support, are firing less and less. When we see a photo of Matt looking thin, or tired, or older, as any of us do, our minds, already primed for tragedy by the narrative arc we've consumed for 25 seasons, jump to the most final conclusion. Because the alternative, watching a living father and son unable to bridge a gap over property and pain, is somehow more agonizing. A literal death is clean. An emotional death is a messy, ongoing wound. The audience has become a character in this ghost story. We are the Greek chorus. We've taken sides. Team Zach or Team Matt. We dissect every Instagram post, every like, every absence from a family gathering. We turned their grief into our content. When Tori posts a picture of the kids in Washington with the caption "Our new happy place," we read it as a shot at Matt. When Matt posts a proud picture of farm visitors, we read it as, "See, I don't need them." We are haunting them, demanding they perform a reconciliation for our satisfaction, or perpetuating their conflict for our analysis. In a very real way, we are the ghosts, refusing to let the past die, insisting the family remain frozen in the dynamic we fell in love with. What's the state of the Roloff family now? It's a constellation, not a unit. Separate stars, glowing in their own orbits, connected by history and biology, but light years apart in daily life. Matt has his fiancée, Karen Chandler, and his vision for the farm's future. Amy has Chris and her own happy life. Zach and Tori are building their world in Washington, fiercely protective of their own children's privacy. Jeremy and Audrey are deep in their own world of faith, family, and influencer branding. Molly is entirely off-grid. Jacob is on his own path of healing and creation. The shocking truth is this: the family we knew, the one from the early 2000s, is dead. That entity no longer exists. It has been succeeded by a group of individuals, all carrying the last name Roloff, all carrying scars from the same battle, but no longer fighting in the same trench. The death of Matt Roloff is a shorthand for the death of that original dream. The farm is no longer the family hearth. It's a business. The show is no longer a family album. It's a documentary of a fracture. So, what's the final twist? The hook that brings us full circle. Perhaps it's this: in all ghost stories, the spirit lingers because something is unresolved. The Roloff family ghost, this palpable absence where their unity used to be, will haunt them and us until there's a resolution. Not necessarily a Hallmark reunion, but a peace. A quiet acceptance of what is, instead of a painful clinging to what was supposed to be. Maybe the most shocking twist of all would be forgiveness. Not for the cameras. Not for the show. But in the quiet, off-camera moments that we will never see. A phone call. A visit where the topic of the farm is banned. A grandchild's birthday where the focus is solely on the joy in front of them, not the land beneath them. The death of the grudge. The birth of a new, quieter, more realistic kind of love. The Matt Roloff death hoax is a macabre testament to how much we cared. We invested in this family. We rooted for them. And seeing them break hurts. So we invented a cleaner, simpler tragedy to explain the complex, mundane, heartbreaking one we were actually witnessing. The slow, difficult work of being a family under the worst possible conditions. The legacy of Little People, Big World is now a double-edged sword. It brought the world to a little farm in Oregon and taught millions about dwarfism, perseverance, and love. But it also may have, bit by bit, episode by episode, dismantled the very thing it sought to portray. The family isn't gone. But the world they built together. That world has forever changed. And mourning that change, that loss, is perhaps the most human reaction of all. So the next time you see that shocking headline, Matt Roloff dead, remember this ghost story. Remember that the real drama isn't in a false obituary, but in the living, breathing, aching reality of a family learning, in public, what it means to survive each other. The question isn't, is Matt Roloff dead? The question is, can what died between them ever be reborn? And that is a story that's still being written, one painful, hopeful day at